Hello, 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 everyone, readers, fans, watchers, listeners. It is October 9th, 2025. And this is Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus with Andy, Jack, Peter. We are deep into fall sports life. We're powered by who, Jack?
Fairway food stores.
Fairway Food Stores, as always. Get out to Fairway. It was cold this morning. It was cold enough to my little one, my 3-year-old, requested a sweatshirt. And she's all about. Both my kids are all about fashion, so it has to be real cold for them to put a sweatshirt over their pretty
Yeah.
dress. So get out, get some soup, get some stuff like that from Fairway.
Soup.
Get some
Soup
soup.
Sports Plus.
Soup, yeah, Soup Sports Plus. Oh yeah, we talked about soup last week. I might eat some soup today. I might call somebody for some soup after this show. Uh, Speaking of things that start out hot and get cold, high school football season. Uh, Jack, you were at one of our premier rivalries in the Southeast Iowa, a game that always shows out, and it did once again. I have to admit that I went back on Southeast Iowa Live and watched this entire game after I got home on Friday night. Jack, tell us all about Fairfield, Washington.
Yeah, I mean, you were certainly thoroughly entertained. If you went back and watched that, I hope the commentary lived up to what we saw on the
Good.
field. But it was a very fun game to call in terms of the action on the field. I mean, first and foremost, we should mention too, it was very moving overall. Fairfield and Washington afterward, they had a really nice coming together. They met on a logo that Washington had put on the field in honor of Carson Ryan. Had a nice moment of silence for that. I talked to Kelly Williams after. He said the Fairfield players and staff wrote handwritten notes and gave them to the Washington players and staff, and it was really somber, but at the same time very, very moving and powerful. Kelly Williams talked to Washington, does their thing where they do they call them demon jacks, the jumping jacks. They go over and raise the flag with the students on the field. And then after that, Kelly Williams brought them all together, talked to the entire student body who were there on midfield, and kind of just talked about being together and continuing to be there for each other. It's obviously still a difficult time in Washington for a team that lost a teammate and for a community and school that lost a friend and classmate. But it was very powerful. It was a really nice coming together. There was a lot of nice displays for him as well. He was named homecoming king. They had a nice setup for him for that. They did homecoming, so they honored the court with him included in that. Before, and so that was incredibly moving. First and foremost, I wanted to start with that because it's just been very impressive to watch Washington and all of these surrounding communities just come together and support Washington and support the team, support the school. So that's been really great. So that was really moving. But on the field, in addition to that, it was thoroughly entertaining. Very back and forth first half. They were tied 22-22 at halftime. No one could get. Defense was optional in the first 24 minutes. There was a bunch of big runs. Fairfield had, I think Zandrick Allison had a 50 and a 62-yard touchdown run in this game for Fairfield. Or sorry, it was Ethan Biscard, not Zandrick Allison. I beg your pardon. But really entertaining. Washington threw 2 interceptions, but they also picked off Foss Richardson twice. Clayton Evans and Cale Williams actually had those picks. Cale Williams, 241 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. In this one as well. Liam Roberts had a really nice game. He had a rushing touchdown. He also had 2 catches for 51 yards. Both of them were he's just kind of a yak monster. He catches the short passes and then just beats a couple of guys out on the perimeter and gets into space, gets some extra yardage. So he scored. Caden Griner scored as well. And then Nick Stone scored the other touchdown for Washington. It was pretty funny, Andy. I learned this from Kelly Williams after, because we saw Cale Williams have to jog to the sideline. He was out for a play, and Nick Williams comes in for one play at QB and scores a touchdown on a QB draw from 14 yards out, which was really fun. Cale Williams was the first to go meet him, gave him a huge shoulder bump, and I found out it was because we didn't see Cale Williams' helmet fall off, which is a pretty typical reason for why a quarterback has to sit out. Apparently, it's also a rule. He wasn't wearing his mouth guard the previous play, so the ref said you had to sit out a play. but then Nick Stone comes in, gets a touchdown on one play, and then that was set up by that Caleb Williams interception, which ultimately kind of sealed the win for Washington because they were up 35-30 at that point. Fairfield only scored once in the second half. They were really limited. Washington's defense really stepped up to the challenge. And Kelly Williams afterward called it a good student body win, which I thought, kind of summarized the whole week up as well. So good win for Washington. They're 3-3 now, 1-1 in district play. They're going to have a tough one this week against Solon. Fairfield's 1-5. I still think the team is better than its record showed. The other thing, too, which we go back to last week, Fairfield, we only counted about 18 or 19 players who are available for this. They had to move the JV game up, and they only made it 2 quarters. So they're still dealing, I think, with some injury problems. Kelly Williams said, too, he kind of thanked Fairfield for kind of even agreeing to play this game and have it kind of go on. So they're still dealing, I think, with some injury stuff. So hopefully this week they were able to get a little bit more healthy and they have an easier game. But it was very entertaining. I mean, Fairfield did its thing on the ground until Washington was able to get those couple stops. But Fairfield still did a fair bit of damage. It was Brady Weigel, Tucker Robertson, and Ethan Biscard had those 2 touchdowns they all scored for Fairfield. But very entertaining game overall. Washington able to get the homecoming W.
I think that was a good game that just makes the district even more fun. You mentioned Fairfield 1-5, but still mathematically, if they win out district wise, there's some crazy stuff that could happen because of tiebreakers and stuff like that. And then Washington, I'm very curious to see. There have been some big Washington Solon games in the past, even when Solon was favored. I'm very interested to see what kind of a showing they can go up there and give those guys. Maybe even just to rattle Solon around a little bit, because Solon has just been running roughshod over the rest of the district so far. Also in that district was the Mount Pleasant Fort Madison game. Mount Pleasant playing at Fort Madison's homecoming for the 2nd straight year. Last year, Mount Pleasant spoiled homecoming on a game-winning field goal. This year, it was did not have to go down to anything like that. 61-0 Mount Pleasant over Fort Madison, and it was just kind of an old-fashioned run the ball down your throat and don't give a lot of stuff up on defense. Mount Pleasant had a crazy amount of variety in people who scored touchdowns. There were 4 receiving touchdowns. Brody Clark, Merrick Lamb, Carter Galing, and Caden Schott all scored. 3 different guys scored on the ground. Ryan Helling, Ramsey Davis, and then Griffin Jones scored twice. He was the only one with 2 touchdowns. 2nd straight week for him with 2 touchdowns. And then normal starting quarterback Grayson Walker had 3 touchdown passes, and backup Charlie Seifert had a touchdown pass. So a lot of kids got in on the scoring.
Sharing the wealth, I believe, is the technique.
Sharing the wealth. They only threw the ball 12 times, but there were only 2 incompletions. They didn't have Mount Pleasant's been making a habit of getting a lot of takeaways even against good teams. They didn't have any takeaways. They didn't have a block punt though early in the game, and it was running the ball just straight up into the line worked very well. I think Ramsey Davis had 114 yards rushing on 5 carries. Ryan Helling had 107 on 6 carries. So they had a lot of bust out runs. And that was a very good game for Mount Pleasant to just kind of keep the train moving. And now the train gets a little tougher for the Panthers as they play in their 3rd straight homecoming game. Kind of funny. They played in their own homecoming game, then they played in Fort Madison's homecoming game. Now they're playing in Keokuk's homecoming game this week. And that is a game where Mount Pleasant right now is set up to play Keokuk, Solon, Fairfield. And if they can win 2 of those 3 games, I believe they will be in the playoffs because of how everything works. The only thing that could possibly mess that up would be if they somehow like lost Keokuk and then beat Solon, and then the tiebreakers got all weird with Washington and Fairfield. But so they're in a good position. Another game where the stats where they scored a bunch of points and then the stats really didn't pop because of just kind of their style. So they beat Fort Madison. Fort Madison is really struggling. They are who Fairfield plays. I think this is a good week for Fairfield to come out.
Get right game.
It's a get right game, and it's a get right game for Fairfield where they can also just kind of shake the cobwebs and then look up at their schedule and be like, oh, we have after the Fort Madison game, let's say they win the Fort Madison game, they got Keokuk and Mount Pleasant, two teams that they would need to beat to climb up into the standings. And the best thing that could happen to Fairfield is if nobody beat Solon, and if they could force a three-way tiebreaker with Washington and Mount Pleasant, which would mean they'd have to beat Mount Pleasant at the end of the year. And then Keokuk, this is another big game for Keokuk against Mount Pleasant because this is their Keokuk will go on 3 straight playing Union area teams. We talked all year about how Mount Pleasant, Fairfield, Washington, and Keokuk will be like the 4 that are close to each other. Keokuk plays Mount Pleasant, Fairfield, Washington, so we'll be seeing a lot of them. And they're in the weird position where they beat Fort Madison, the last place team, by a bunch, and then lost to Solon, the first place team, by a bunch. So we really don't know their strength too much. They've had a really good game, beat Mediapolis by 13. They've had a really bad game, got shellacked by Burlington. So we'll learn a lot about Keokuk in the next few weeks. Oh yeah, by the way, shout out, Mount Pleasant is ranked by the Iowa High School Athletic Association poll. Now, we do not use the Iowa High School Athletic Association poll. We use the Gazette poll, the one I vote in. But shout out, and hopefully people don't get mad when it doesn't say number 9 by Mount Pleasant's name in the preview, because we use the Gazette poll. And then I was not at that game, though. I was at a small school game, Jack. Anything to say about the 3A district before I move on?
No, I'm excited to see how it pans out. I too am kind of looking at that Washington Solon game as something that could be really interesting. I mean, Solon's really good. They're really good at the big thing for me. And Washington overcame this against Fairfield, which was, they've struggled to turn the ball over. It's kind of that plain and simple. They've thrown 9 interceptions this year. That's the second most in Class 3A. Solon is first in forced fumbles and I think third in interceptions. They have 10 picks this year. They have 2 pick sixes and a scoop and score. I think if Washington, again, if they don't turn the ball over and they can maybe get Solon in a shootout, or even if their defense can step up a little bit, try and make Solon really one-dimensional, like maybe completely take away their run game. Solon is a little bit more pass happy than most of the teams in the district, but they are really, really good through the air. Their quarterback just got a preferred walk-on offer from Duke. So, they're going to be a tough beat.
Their quarterback may be the person who one day retires Bill Belichick's coaching career.
There you go. Yeah, maybe he comes to Duke and wins the job. I think he has an actual offer from Drake too. So he's a good player. Eli Campman is his name.
He's very good.
Not our producer, not to be confused with our producer, but
nope.
It'll be tough. But I think if they can completely take away that run game and not turn the ball over, we'll see maybe something crazy can happen. And that would be a massive win for Washington. So I have my eye on that game. I'm curious to see what goes on.
This is not the first time that Solon has been dropped down to this district where a lot of Southeast teams, and there have been a lot of years where there are close calls where Mount Pleasant had 1 and Washington had 2 or 3 where that game really was better than people had expected, and Solon seems to wiggle out every time. But we'll see if they can throw some punches with them. I would guarantee that Washington has some plays in the back pocket for this week. So I was in Waco, and speaking of districts that are growing interesting, the Class 8 player district that Waco and Winfield Mount Union are in, I believe it's 8 player 4, but let me draw 5 up here. 8 5. 8 player 5 has all of a sudden turned into this wacky district because Iowa Valley's number 1. They're looking like a team that could go to the Dome. They are super, super good. And then I thought that Waco was slightly better than everybody else for that number 2 spot, but they've had they had trouble lately. And so now let me tell you, when he came into this game, this is a game that Coach Chad Edeker said afterwards that he had told his players is basically a playoff game because they just lost to Belle Plaine the week before, and they have to play Iowa Valley, even though they've beaten WMU. And English Valley's lost to WMU just by a couple of points, and they lost to Belle Plaine by 6 points. So one possession games, very close games all around here. So English Valley goes into Waco, and final score in this was 54-52 English Valley's. It was 30-7 at halftime. And Waco could not do anything right in the first half. It was just stunning how well English Valley's defense was playing. They have these two runners, Drew Fisher and Braden Anderson, who they carried the ball every single play. They had one pass play. Every single other time, one of those two players carried the ball with no other exceptions. And they were breaking out some big runs. Waco, who's just traditionally, especially for an 8-man team, Waco is a good defensive team. They couldn't figure it out. These guys, they're breaking tackles. That something was working for them. But then third quarter starts, and you kind of see Waco start to figure something out offensively. They started giving the ball to Trey Edeker, who's a fullback. You'd almost never see a fullback in 8-man football, but Waco likes to just line it up like an 11-man team, and they were giving them a little sneak. Even on they had a 4th and 4 where they went fullback dive. Obviously, it was a sneaky fullback dive where everybody else thought it would go somewhere else, and it went for like 10 yards. So they scored. Waco scored 32 points in the third quarter alone. And they had one stop, so they actually outscored English Valley's 32-16. So it was only a 7-point game at the end of the third quarter, but English Valley's kept scoring. When it would get down to one possession, English Valley would score to get it to 2, and then Waco would cut it, blah, blah, blah. And a key in this game was Waco scored to cut the game to 9 and then went for 2 and didn't get it. They came up a yard short. And then the very next possession, English Valley's fumbled basically as they were going in. They fumbled a snap, which gave Waco the chance to go score. Hayden Shellman scored to cut it, and they had to, kick the one because now they're still down 2 points. And this is with just over 2 minutes left. Waco had 2 timeouts, and you could feel the momentum for Waco. And I mean, they were scoring so quick, however they wanted to. Waco, you could feel it was like if they could just figure out a way to get the ball from English Valley's. They didn't get the onside kick, and then English Valley's got a first down on the 2 plays first down, so that wasted away 1 timeout. And then the math, you started to see the math where you're like, all right, if Waco stops them, it's going to be like a few seconds. Maybe they'll get a play or two, at least force them to punt. And then English Valley's managed to fumble the snap 2 times and recovered it both times. And one of the times it flew off, Fisher was the quarterback, it flew off of his hands up in the air, and Anderson made a jumping grab at it. And I think he even bobbled it and got tackled as he was like pulling it in. And there would have still been like a minute left for Waco to go score. And ended up on 4th and 11, the game clock and the play clock were like ticking together. And so they didn't have to run another play. And so Waco quite literally just ran out of time on their comeback attempt, which really puts Waco behind the 8 ball because now they've lost twice in district, plus they have to play Iowa Valley. And then, and I'll bring up the scoreboard here. The other thing that does is Winfield Bout Union lost to Waco early in the year, which looked like a pretty big doomsday loss, but they've beaten English Valley's. So now all of a sudden their chances have started to like crawl out of the ground a little bit, and they get a forfeit win this week because they're supposed to play Lone Tree. So yeah. But let me bring up the other small school football matchups because we had some crazy ones besides that one. Where is that Pekin game? Come on, Andy. Nope. Oh, here we go. Pekin. So Besides that game, Pekin played a non-district game trying to stay undefeated. They have a huge district game this week against Danville. And did you go back and watch this Pekin game like I did on YouTube?
I have not.
It was 22-7, Pekin. I looked at it on my phone while I was at the Waco game. I said, all right, Pekin's good. Like 22-7, they're not gonna blow that. North Mahaska finds a way to come back and force overtime at 22-22. Not only that, as another dog is outside. Not only that, but North Mahaska got the ball back and then completed a deep pass on the very last play of regulation where the kid caught it at the 20-yard line, and Reed Lauderman had to make a tackle to save the game. It would have been a walk-off touchdown. Then in overtime, Pekin's defense makes a stop, and Henry Adam, who already had 3 touchdowns in the game, first play they ran a counter where nobody somehow they hit Henry Adam, and nobody even touched him in the 10-yard touchdown run. So Pekin survived. Adam, by the way, went for his wide receiver. And Peter, if we can throw the Randy Moss JPEG up of his Thanksgiving Day or playoff game where he had like 3 catches for 300 yards. He caught 5 passes for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Jeez.
And then he also rushed for 2 touchdowns. So big one there for him. Also, Winfield Union, who I just mentioned, they did get the win over HLV Tri-County. Nicholas Sparrow had 3 touchdowns on that. They won 50-34. And then the bad news.
Hope he doesn't want you to tell the bad news.
He doesn't want to hear the bad news. The bad news. Oh no, let me start with more good news. I don't know why I hid Mid Prairie's game after a loss, but I'm looking at the rundown right now. Mid Prairie did win 56-0 against Central Lee. They're awesome. They're still in the top 5. They have a huge game against Meepo. The bad news: Sigourney Keota could not stop the Iowa City Regina train. 41-7 loss. Columbus fumbled the ball 3 straight possessions to start the game at Wapello's homecoming, then came all the way back, but still lost 40-27. And then Cardinal had a really tough one going all the way to Durant, lost 56-8. So there's your 3 losses there.
There you go. Do you want a quick rundown, or what's the bad news? You just did the bad news. Do you want a quick rundown of the games this week?
Yes, I would love them.
All right, I'll go fast. The big school, all 3 of our big schools are all on the road. We already touched on it. Washington's at Solon, Fairfield at Fort Madison, Mount Pleasant at Keokuk. Those games are all at 7:30 in Class A District 5, Van Buren County against Wapello, and then very likely the game that I will potentially be at, Pekin and Danville. Or that might be you, Andy. Sorry, Pekin and Danville.
One of us will be at that. You haven't decided yet. One of us will be at Pekin Danville.
Someone will be at Pekin Danville. 6-0 against 5-1. They're both 4-0 in Class A District 5. That's a massive game. And it is Danville senior night. Mid Prairie against Mediapolis, you mentioned it. That's a big one in Class 2A. I believe it's Mid Prairie senior night. Waco against Springville. That's a non-district game, actually, Andy, with Waco against Springville. We have the Battle of 0-6 teams. Someone is going to get a win this week between will it be Cardinal in our area or will it be Louisa Muscatine? They're both 0-6. They play one another. And then Sigourney Keota against Durant. Sigourney Keota looking for a bounce back. Games not happening this week that we're supposed to. Winfield, Mount Union, Lone Tree. You mentioned that. New London was supposed to play at BGM, and Highland and Columbus were supposed to play one another. Highland and New London, of course, canceled their seasons.
That's sad to have three games this week where they were supposed to happen. But I'll tell you what,
Highland is actually playing Lone Tree in a JV scrimmage.
In an 8-man scrimmage. Good. I'm glad they get some football out of the way. The big one, by the way, of those who won the bye week, I think Winfield Union wins the bye week because they have a monster game next week, and now they have the very rare 2 weeks to prepare for a game. Although Columbus did have 2 weeks, and they came out a little. As I said, they had 3 fumbles. Just take away one of those fumbles, they could have won that game at Wapello, and they were all rusty after their week off. So that's what we got for football. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Southeast Conference Volleyball Tournament action postseason. Jack was on hand. So stick with us.
Introducing Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every meal is a delight. Start your day with our mouthwatering breakfast options and savor flavorful lunches with friends and family. Cap off your day with our delectable dinners. Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every moment is delicious.
The Connie and Amanda team is dedicated to giving back to our community by actively engaging with our clients, businesses, and the public. When it comes to helping you find your next home, investment, or commercial space, the Connie and Amanda team is here for you.
At WCHC, our goal is to take great care of our patients and our staff.
We are able to approach you, take care of your issues, but also give you a path, as far as referrals or treating you right then and there.
Our role in the community is taking care of something that matters to everyone. It's their family and their health.
More than you expect for your health care.
Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus, powered by Fairway. We're going to talk volleyball. I was messing with my hair during the break, and now it's all wacky. And it wasn't very wacky. The Southeast Conference tournament's day one, sweep filled, and Jack was there. Jack, day one, the Southeast Conference round robin volleyball tournament, which is basically the entire championship. What'd you see?
I saw a lot of Washington, a lot of Mount Pleasant, and a lot of Fairfield. They were all participating. That is my analysis. No. It was kind of sweep city. I don't believe there was any match that went more than the two sets. Interestingly, in the SEC tournament, they play best of three, but they do play to 25 points instead of 21. So they still have the normal format for the individual sets, but they only play the best of three. But yeah, Washington, unsurprisingly, came out on top. They went 3-0. They played Fort Madison, Mount Pleasant, and Keokuk, beat all of them in two sets. They're still perfect. They're now 8-0 against SEC competition. Andy, they last lost a conference game on September 10th, 2024. They lost to Burlington. They have not.
Was that at home or was that on the road? Do you know?
I can't remember. I think it was on the road.
I think either way, I think I was at that game.
Yeah. So
at that game.
They have been awesome. It was Aaron Six's birthday, their coach. So that was kind of fun. They gave him a card saying him happy birthday on the court after their last match, which I saw. That was pretty fun. He said it was a great birthday gift to go 3-0. But yeah, they look like the dominant power in the conference. Mount Pleasant pushed them pretty close. They actually took them to extra points, if you will.
Points.
Lost 27-25, Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant went 0-2 on the night, but played Washington really close in that first set. They also played Fairfield. They played Fairfield pretty close in the first set. But unfortunately, the Panthers couldn't get a dub. I talked to their coach, Alicia Schrader, and she said, she said, we're a good team. They're good teams as well. All those battles are fairly close. So they're expecting some better results, I think, when they play 3 games on the second day of the tournament on Monday. And then Fairfield went 2-1. They beat Mount Pleasant, of course, Keokuk as well, and then lost to Burlington. Fairly sizably, actually. I thought they'd keep that a little bit closer, to be frank, but they, are kind of still kind of lingering around. They're going to have a huge match against Washington to start day 2. That could potentially make some things really interesting. But Washington, Burlington, the top 2 teams in the conference, went 3-0. They're going to play on day 2. That will probably be the de facto championship game with the way things shook out on day 1. But yeah, Fairfield, they came back against Keokuk. They were down 14-9. They ended on a 7-0 run, then went up 10-3 to start the second set. Some stats, at least on the Fairfield side. Natalie Steele had 16 kills in the tournament. Elise Setterstrom had 18. They got 7 aces as well from 6 aces from Mallory Weigel again in that second set. Or in that match against Keokuk, in both sets. So they had some bright moments, Fairfield, but yeah, Washington, the big winners. They are definitely formidable. They have now won 14 of their last 15 games, 9 in a row. They're going to play at Pella this weekend in a tournament. That was a tournament they lost all 4 games in last time, but there's some really good teams in competing in that. I have their rankings in front of me. They are potentially going to play Holy Trinity, who's number 2 in 1A, Pella, who's number 3 in 4A, and West Des Moines Valley, who are number 7 in 5A. Knoxville and Grinnell are also at that tournament. So that's going to be, Aaron Six was kind of joking. He was like, yeah, we don't take any non-district games, non-conference games off. We play really good teams, and it set them up well because it looks like they're going to potentially repeat as SEC champs. They are in prime position to do so. Had a really good tournament there last night or on Monday night.
So I wonder, I have to look at the schedule. Would they play Burlington right off the bat? Because I think they would still save Fairfield and Washington for the end because they're still the top 2 seeded. Would they, or did they say that they would mix up?
I think Washington and Burlington are the top 2 seeds, so I think they'd save.
No, I think it's because Fairfield beat Burlington in the regular.
That's right. So yeah, I potentially
the Washington Burlington game might happen immediately.
Yeah, and that's the 2 3-0s because Burlington went 3-0, Fairfield went 2-1, MP went 0-3, Keokuk went 0-3, and Fort Madison went 0-2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So So what'll happen then is that would be a huge one for Burlington. If Burlington would upset Washington, then our teams would be in big trouble because they would only play Mount Pleasant left, and they would have the tiebreaker over both Fairfield and Washington. If Washington wins, then Fairfield would have still a shot at the very end to force three-way. You could get to a position where if Washington sweeps Burlington, where Washington could lose that last game in 3 sets and still be the conference champions.
Yeah.
We've had some weird situations with that. My favorite was one year, Mount Pleasant and Fairfield were the top 2 seeds, and Mount Pleasant had already clinched the conference championship because of the way things were going, but they played Fairfield in the last match, and it was at Fairfield, and Fairfield won. And so then the girls were just too depressed to celebrate being the conference champions because they had just lost Fairfield. So I was like, they ruined the conference championship as it was happening. But so yeah, that sets up for a weird situation since Burlington beat Fairfield. And I'm a little scared of Burlington because I watched them play in Mount Pleasant. They looked strong.
They're a good team. Yeah, they're a tough
they are.
team.
Shout out Lindsay, their coach was used to be a New London coach, good friend of the program. I was at a small school game. I was at Winfield, Mount Union, and Highland, the only Union area versus Union area showdown in the Yankee North of the Southeast Iowa Super Conference. And it was all Winfield, Mount Union, despite some injuries. Winfield, Mount Union is banged up. They got some big-time injuries. They were still able to come out and win this one 25-15, 27-25, 25-19. Now that 27-25, Highland was up 23-19 in that set. Looked like they were going to force a second set. Highland kind of shows that where you just see like the flashes of potential because they're so young. But Winfield was able to scramble around and get that. And Quinn Smith, who's had to really step up at the front of the net because she's like the only hitter that's left that was starting at the front of the net at the beginning of the year. She had 10 kills. They're without Winfield Union without Kinley Buffington, who was their leading hitter before she got hurt. And then Kelly Milks, a major player for them, was also out yesterday. So at the net, they really had to scramble around. Other, at least North Division games, Waco, coached by former WMU head coach David Peart, wins against Lone Tree, 25-8, 25-14, 25-13. So big win there for the Warriors. Hillcrest Academy had a shot over there to upend the number 1 Northern team in Wapello, but Wapello is just too powerful this year. 25-11, 25-11, 25-13. Let's get some. Who else? Oh, Columbus. How about let's check on the old Columbus Wildcats, who did not play because they were the North team that was off. So why did I click that team? I messed that whole thing up. Jack. I said Hillcrest already. Where's Pekin at? Where are you at, Pekin? I'm just scrolling through the North Division score list right now, trying to find the Pekin Panthers. There they are. Pekin with a 5-set loss to Louisa Muscatine.
Mhm.
They won the first one 25-12. Oh, they were up 2-0. Pekin was 25-12, 25-22. Louisa Muscatine comes back 25-18, 26-24, 15-12. So tough one there for Pekin. That was in the North Division. Might as well just click around some more. Cardinal Falls Davis County in 3, 25-9, 25-14, 25-12. Let's see if I can find Keota and Mid Prairie over here on my phone. Oh, there's Keota. You just go through the schedules, you can find it. Keota didn't play. Keota didn't play, Jack. What am I doing? What am I doing? And then, but you know what? I'm going to play. Do you ever play the Wikipedia game, Jack, where you...
Yes, I get from one thing to the other.
Yeah, you try and get from one thing to the other. Somebody gives you like 2 things to connect. That's what I'm doing right now with the Iowa High School volleyball.
I'm going to beat you to that if you're looking for Mid Prairie. A loss for the Golden Hawks in 4 sets to Regina Catholic, 23-25, 17-25. They won the third 25-17, then lost 17-25 in the fourth. So
the hated Regina Catholic Regals, I'll tell you what.
The Regals, big win for them.
That was a big loss potentially because the volleyball brackets are supposed to be coming out today for classes 1A, 2A, and 3A, which means I wonder if that will affect what they do with Mid Prairie. Let me just make sure that they haven't gotten the brackets out yet. Oh my goodness.
Are they out? Breaking news?
No, there is breaking news. I didn't know this. Oh, huge breaking news. I don't know why, but they're not coming out today, Wednesday. They're coming out today, Thursday, when you guys are watching this, I guess. There is going to be a regional bracket release show at 3:45 on Thursday, I guess on the YouTube. And I did not know that. This is the first year they've ever done such a thing. A bracket release show. I will be tuned in. I can promise you that.
Selection Sunday on a Thursday.
Thursday for the volleyball. So I didn't know that. Back in the old days, Jack, we used to, we covered Iowa Wesleyan up until the school closed a couple years ago. And they had a good NAIA and Division III basketball teams, and we used to go to the release show parties because they would have their own Selection Sunday for NAIA. So now we get to do it for volleyball. So exciting. Maybe they're doing all the brackets then. They usually do 1A through 3A. I'm guessing if they're having a release show, they're probably doing all 5. They're probably not saving 4A and 5A for the next week like they usually do. So
what will Washington's one shining moment be?
One shining moment. It's just like our pictures from the SEC Volleyball Tournament. So there you go. That was exciting. When we come back, I'm going to tell you a little bit about state tennis, and then we're going to check in on our cross-country kids. Stick with us.
Attention Hy-Vee shoppers, introducing Hy-Vee Perks, your ticket to exclusive savings and rewards. Access exclusive perks, prices, earn gas discounts, and unlock special deals. All this for free. Join Hy-Vee Perks today and start saving.
At Seafirst Credit Union, we're all about making connections, like how we connect you to that dream vacation with a savings account designed to help get you on the flight there. Connect with Seafirst today and see why together is better.
Hey, you want to see something really scary?
3 chills and things that go bump in the night. The Thrashing's House of Terror. Family-friendly Halloween treat. Visit the Midwest Haunted Rail. Unlimited rides on the Ghost Train, trolley, and carousel, blow-ups, and carnival ride, all for one low price. Kids 4 and under free. Scare up some fun at Midwest Haunted Rails, McMillan Park, Mount Pleasant.
In the heart of rural Iowa, where community matters most, The connections we make are made to last. Meet KCTC, your hometown internet, phone, and TV provider. At KCTC, we're not just about technology, we're about people. Our dedicated team are your neighbors, committed to bringing you top-tier services right where you live. We believe in giving back to the community that raised us. Experience the power of a real connection with KCTC. Join us in building a stronger, more connected Southeast Iowa.
Welcome back. Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus. Thursday, October 9th, 2025. We just broke some huge news in volleyball with the fact they're having a release show. Now let's break some old news because 1 week ago was the state tennis tournament. We obviously couldn't. It was over, or it was not over by the time we did the show last week. So you haven't heard about it yet. If the only source of media you get, people, is Prep Sports Plus, first off, that's totally fine. I think more people should be like that. And two, now we're going to tell you what happened at state tennis. Peter, I was at the lovely Hawkeye tennis facilities in Iowa City. And let me just say, Iowa City does such a great job at hosting girls tennis that I think Iowa City should host every Iowa high school state event. And that has nothing to do with the fact that it's 45 minutes driving compared to the 4 hours of driving that you do when you go to like Fort Dodge or something. But they really do a great job. Beautiful facilities, a lot of wasps, not really Iowa's fault there. But I was there to watch the singles and doubles tournament. Fairfield had 4 players of their 6 varsity players go to the singles and doubles tournament. I'm going to start with doubles because that is the team that did the best for Fairfield. Fairfield had medal winners in state doubles. Rhea Ross and Surya Yaman are friends since 7 years old, which I learned a couple weeks ago, but who had not played on the same tennis team because one goes to Maharishi, one goes to Fairfield. Finally got to be doubles partners. They started going crazy just a couple of weeks ago. They won the SEC tournament, swept through. They won the regional tournament. And it was like, man, these guys are red hot. Now, on Wednesday, they did end up falling in their first game, which dropped them to the consolation bracket. But they battled all the way back to win the 7th place match. Get a nice 7th place medal. They played a team out of Wallart Catholic first. They actually won the first set 6-0. These are three setters. They lost the next two 6-2, 6-2. Then they battled back, beat a team from Bishop Heelan in a 3-set tiebreaker. When you get to the consolation, you're in a 10-point tiebreaker. That's important for this. Beat a team from Clarinda, 3-set tiebreaker. I believe those were 10-7, 3-set tiebreakers, very close. Wow. To keep their lives alive to the next day, they lose in the game that is the consolation semi. Like it's the one that decides whether you're going to the 5th place game or the 7th place game. Swept by a team from Boone. They play a team from Spencer in the 7th place match. Not only does this go to a 3-set tiebreaker, Jack, this goes to extra points in the 3-set tiebreaker. And I think 13-11 was the final. Fairfield's Rhea Ross, Rhea Yamaner. And there were points that were crazy. There were points where there were people cheering already because they thought it was over. You know, doubles tennis, as a tennis player, it gets a little wacky, because like the person in front could miss it and then everyone starts celebrating like it's over, but it's not over. The person in back could still hit it. They had a lot of those. They had a lot of balls that like skimmed off of the net. There were a lot of just crazy points, but huge win for Ross and Yamada, who are only juniors. And now all of a sudden they're set up for some really potential next fall. Although I think everybody secretly hopes they move it back to the spring in Class 1A doubles. Now in the singles bracket, Fairfield had a couple of returners, 2 girls who just played in state singles in the spring when it was a spring sport, and now are playing. Pujita Mukadam had won the regional, and Natalie Steele, speaking of, we talked about her in volleyball, was second in the regional. Funny enough, for the 2nd straight year, Mukadam beats Steele in the regional final. Steele gets the worst seed, but Natalie Steele had the better performance at state getting 8th place. And 2 of her losses were to the girl she played immediately, Herika Kakenberg from North Polk. Beat her in a crazy 3-set match on Wednesday, 6-1, 3-6, 7-6. So that went into the tiebreaker. Natalie Steele comes back, win.
Uh-oh. Oh no. He didn't even glitch out there. Oh, he's back.
And I heard "oh no" in the middle of everything, and then all of a sudden you guys were frozen.
You're back.
That was "oh no." What was the last thing you guys heard?
She lost her opener, and then I think it was just and then you.
Was I just like this?
You just cut it off, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even realize I was frozen. All of a sudden, I heard your voice go, "oh no." She lost her opener. She won to get to the game I was talking about, where it's you either play in the 5th or the 7th. She ends up getting knocked to the 7th. Plays the same girl she played in the first match and gets swept, gets 8th. But that's the 2nd straight medal for Natalie Steele. And then Pujita Mukadam came this close to making a sweep of 4 girls with medals. She also fell in a heartbreaker in the first round. She fell in 3 sets to Charlotte Schwab of Kemper Catholic. And by the way, shout out to the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. Really go bound for putting the little high school mascots by these team names, because it really makes me feel smart to recognize all these high school mascots. She beat a girl from Pella Christian 2-0. And then she played Kakenberg, the girl from North Polk that beat Natalie twice. That is also who knocked out Mukadam in 2 sets at the end of the day on Wednesday. So that North Polk girl was just causing us problems. She was causing us problems, Jack. So Pujita ends her great career for Fairfield, 2-time state competitor, their number 1 player that led them to some huge wins in team competition. Next year, Fairfield, as long as everybody plays, brings back the other 5 RC players, though. So pretty huge there. You're bringing back 3 state competitors. There you go. And that's it for tennis, Jack.
All righty.
When you were in high school, when tennis season was over, did you get depressed?
Yeah. I mean, it was sad. I did not do nearly as well in my own competitions as these Fairfield players. So my seasons ended a lot sooner. But yeah, it was always sad. We had some good teams.
What number did you play? Was it where you were from? Was it like the 6 where you ranked like that?
Yep. It was the same thing. By the time I was a senior, I was on the number 2 doubles team, and we sometimes played number 1 doubles.
Fun.
So
yeah, I'm gonna give you lots of tennis during the spring.
We were solid. Yeah, I love tennis. I will happily cover plenty of tennis.
We got exciting boys tennis in the spring. So tennis is not dead. It's just on vacation because the unions decided to split boys and girls tennis. And tell you what, I would never give names, but everyone I talked to said that they hoped that they moved it back to the spring, but they thought they'd definitely just keep it in the fall. So there you go. Cross country. Hillcrest hosted their cross country meet on Monday, Jack.
They did indeed. And Washington prevailed at said meet on the boys' side. Prevailed. I'll pull up the full results right now.
While you do that, let me just remind people of what is to come. The Super Conference meet is next week. I believe the Southeast Conference meet is the week after, and then we've got the state qualifiers. So if you are a cross-country fan, things are getting, I wouldn't say heated up because it's getting cold, but this is the time you live for. This is the time when it's like February and you're just longing for postseason cross-country. This is the time that you hope you're in. The week before a exciting Super Conference cross country, by the way, the last couple of years has been wild, especially on the boys' side with individual championships. So we'll be again
turning up. Yeah, but yes, Washington for the boys, 53 points. They actually, I will have to look into this. They tied with Louisa Muscatine, which also had 53 points, but Washington was given the win.
Did they split them in A and B, or is everybody going against? There probably weren't enough teams to go A class and B class, right?
No, it looks like they were all together as one. Louisa Muscatine also got 53 points, but I must be surely the tie goes to the runner that got first overall, which was Andrew Reese at 17-10.
Tie usually goes to the or it went to this or it went to the fifth place on each. That's actually probably what it is.
I'll have to check on who. I don't know who got fifth for Louisa Muscatine, but for Washington, it was Parker. I think it's Schnatz. Is how you say his name. I'm sorry, Parker, if I'm butchering your last name.
Oh, Shantz. Parker Shantz.
Shantz, my bad.
Yeah, so, I mean it's a hard one when you look at it, and then
he got 22nd overall at 1932.
Attaboy.
Came down to that. That is a pretty solid time, especially for the fifth place runner. But yeah. Washington, Andrew Reese, 17-10, got first. Jack Shepard actually took third overall on this at 18 minutes flat. Ethan Hotchkiss, sixth overall at 18:21. Teague Miller, 21st, and Parker got 22nd as the top five runners for Washington. Actually, Fletcher Brower, not that far off, got 26th place. Javi Resendez, 32nd overall. So, yeah, Washington did well. They got first in the team scoring. The girls team got fourth overall with 82 points. It does not appear, I saw she was there because she was in one of the pictures. It does not appear that Iris Dahl ran in this race. Their top finisher was Cora Miller at seventh overall, 21:54.
She was, shout out to Iris Dahl, queen.
Yes, homecoming queen.
Washington queen. And by the way, I was going to mention, because you mentioned the Washington high school boys. Now, they have not released, as I speak, the rankings. They're supposed to come out today, Wednesday, when we tape this. Washington was ranked number 20 in 3A boys last week. So we'll see if they bump up a little bit. And then, do we have any other cross-country results while I scroll through these? I was going to see if we got any other team rankings out from that. It's kind of stinks when I looked. I was expecting to see the rankings from this week, and it's last week. So
it's not
Mid-Prairie, 5 in girls. But fear not, they were like 6th in girls going into the state tournament last year, and they won. So
there you have it.
I'm excited. Some high octane cross country. This really is going to separate the men from the boys too, or is it? Because I was going to say because it gets cold, but I guess if you're a cross country runner, you really want it to be cold.
Yeah, I feel like I'd rather run in the chilly, freezing air. It'd motivate you to finish faster, and probably less drag. I feel like I'd hate running in the burning heat.
Yeah, you need to. It needs to be the point where, and shout out, I'm not going to mention them by name, but I know there's a couple of our cross country runners that hate it when this happens, and they don't want pictures of them like this. But when you're slobbering all over your face and it gets frozen to your face, that's when you celebrate. That's when we be nice to our runners and don't run those pictures. I've deleted a few, but that's when it separates the men and women from the boys and girls.
And shout out to Chloe Glosser from Pekin. She got third at the Bud and Bonnie Williams Invitational last week. I don't know if we talked about that because it was last Thursday.
Oh, yeah, that's a good. Yeah, no, we probably didn't talk about that yet. Chloe, I need to look at the individual rankings to see. She was third, I think, last week when we looked at the individual rankings for Class 1A. This could be. I would not be surprised if this is the month of Chloe Glosser, October. Seeing what she did last year.
Glosstober.
It's Glosstober. It's Glosstober. What other names could we throw out there? What about Andrew Reese? Reese-tober? Could be Fedtober for Avery Fedler of Mount Pleasant. Yeah. She's already ranked number 2 in 3A.
Reese. I'm trying to think of Reese's Halloween candy. There's something there maybe with October. I don't know.
I'd have to ask, but it's not spelled the same. But I would really. This is a rough time to have the last name Reese.
Yeah.
Because of Angel Reese.
Oh,
live in Iowa with that last name is tough. I just realized something. The individual rankings come out 2 days before the team rankings, so that's why I was confused. But I do have individual rankings. 3A boys. 3A boys. Where is he? Andrew Reese, 22nd, ranked in 3A boys. Now he wasn't ranked as high as he finished the state last year. 3A girls. Avery Fedler has actually bulletin board material been bumped down to number 6.
Ooh.
There's also a little gap and Ira Stahl 19th. And where is Avery Run from Fort Madison? 11th. 3 SEC runners in the top 19. 2A boys, everybody. 2A boys. 2A boys. Oh, we're shut out from 2A boys. Mid-Prairie got shut out from 2A boys individual rankings this week. 2A girls. Brooklyn Stutzman, number 6 for Mid-Prairie. Tessa Broke on number 11 for Mid-Prairie. And that's it. 1A boys. We're going to have some 1A boys. I guarantee that. Jude Dykstra, who found my wife's phone for her after she left it at the movie theater just a few days ago at number 10.
Right.
Lincoln. Oh, I might have mentioned that last week. Lincoln Bainbridge, 11. Cole Milliken of, that's, by the way, Jude Dykstra, Waco, Lincoln Bainbridge, Van Buren. Cole Milliken of Pekin, 18th. 1A girls, Chloe Glosser, who we were just talking about, Glosstober, number 3 in 1A girls. And I would bet you we have a couple other ones. Josie Dykstra, number 25, representing the Waco Warriors. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. And there we go. I don't have anything else to say. You have anything else to say, Jack?
No, that's it.
That's it. Would you like to guarantee a Mizzou win? Oh, never mind. You're Mizzou and Alabama. I can't say that.
I'm not an Alabama fan. I covered the team, but I will be cheering for Mizzou.
It's a Jack.
To make that clear, but
it's the Jack Knowlton game of the century. Mizzou and Alabama this weekend.
They played last year too, and Alabama killed them in Tuscaloosa. So hopefully it'll be a lot better of a game this time.
Hopefully, and I'm just going to go ahead and say anybody that has any ties to Wisconsin, gotta stay away from this team this week because
also me.
What?
That's also me. I'm also in that camp.
You have Wisconsin ties because I think
my mother went there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Mother was a Badger.
I grew up a very large Badger fan before I went to Mizzou. I still kind of am as much.
Interesting. Yep. Well, because I was gonna say. As long as the Cubs don't screw it up here in a few hours when we're taping. But my prediction, not my prediction, because that's not what I think is going to happen. But my hope is that Saturday is the fall of Wisconsin with the Brewers blowing a 2-0 lead to the Cubs and Iowa winning the Heartland Trophy. So I'm anti-Wisconsin from now until Sunday.
Could be a terrible Saturday if both of those things that you just said happen and Mizzou loses. That would be tough.
It would be what I think is going to happen is that by the time this show comes out, the Cubs will have just completely blew game 3 as well. And it'll be on to football season. You think the Cubs are going to win game 3?
Yes.
They're favored today. Better pitching matchup, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got to be emotionally draining to have 2 huge homers in first inning and then absolutely get wrecked for the rest of the game. What does Peter think? Peter just got his hand hovering over the end button.
Right.
Oh, there I am. Peter just hopes everyone has fun.
Oh, nice. It's not whether you win or lose. That's all we got. I think that's all we got for today. Go whoever you're cheering for, except go our 12 to 13 high school sports teams.
Or rough 12 to 13.
Depending on what sport it is. And when will we see them, Jack?
We will see them next Thursday.